Moving on to our next story, usage of e-cigarettes among teens have soared to more than 70% following Juul's launch in 2015, causing the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to declare an epidemic of underage vaping.
Health experts said this can lead to many teenagers becoming addicted to nicotine. Electronic cigarette maker Juul Labs will pay nearly $440 million to settle a 2-year investigation by 33 states regarding marketing of high-nicotine vape products. The investigation was launched as the company has been blamed for sparking a national surge in teen vaping.
Connecticut Attorney General William Tong announced the deal on Tuesday after the states and Puerto Rico joined together in 2020 to probe Juul's claims that their devices offer a safe alternative to smoking.
This settlement resolves one of the biggest legal threats facing the troubled company, which is currently tangled in 9 separate lawsuits from various states. The state investigation found that Juul marketed their e-cigarettes to underage teens by giving out products, launch parties, and as well as using social media posts with youthful models. The $438.5 million settlement will be paid over the span of the next 6 to 10 years. Tong also stated that Connecticut's payment of at least $16 million will go towards vaping prevention and educational efforts.
Juul can no longer fund education programs in schools. Okay, Juul cannot depict persons in any marketing under the age of 35. They can't use cartoons like Joe Camel. No paid product placement in movies or television shows. No sale of brand name merchandise. No sale of flavors not approved by the FDA. No more misrepresentations about nicotine quantity. They represented, for example, that the nicotine in a Juul pod was no more than a pack of cigarettes. False. Misleading representations about nicotine content, and no more. We take away significantly sponsorships and naming rights. Billboards are gone. That's a big deal for us. Public transportation advertising, social media advertising, and then use of paid influencers. They can't do that anymore. They have to strengthen their age verification procedures, and no more free samples.
Okay, so even though despite this going to a settlement, there's still a lot of controversy that surrounds this issue. So, as you can see, this has actually taken years to reach this settlement. And in the meantime, while Juul was trying to fight this in courts, there had been hundreds, if not thousands, of new products that have been launched out there as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you trying to stop e-cigarettes, or are you trying to stop Juul? Because those are two separate things. Because Juul, I believe, was the one that was used kind of like, because they were one of the early companies that really made a lot of money off of this. And all of those things they were accused of is likely true in regards to the way they were marketing it in the very beginning, in regards to the flavors that existed. And I feel like, I think the government was trying to set an example with Juul in order to kind of scare the other companies not to do the same things as well. Now, most of the limits that were imposed with the settlement won't even affect Juul's current practices. They already stopped using parties, giveaways, and promotion several years ago when they came under scrutiny. Teen use of e-cigarettes actually skyrocketed after Juul's launch back in 2015. So this is what the US FDA deemed was an epidemic of underage vaping among teenagers. There was a huge increase of teenagers using vape products. But since 2019, Juul has actually backed off a lot, dropping all of the US advertising, pulling its fruit and candy flavors off the shelves as well. The biggest blow actually came earlier this summer when the FDA moved to ban all Juul e-cigarettes from the market, so even the ones with just tobacco flavors. Juul challenged that ruling in court, and the FDA has since reopened its scientific review of the company's technology. Now, the FDA review is part of a sweeping effort by regulators to bring scrutiny to the entire industry of vaping, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry. After years of regulatory delays, there's still, from state to state, it's still different regulations. while Juul's early marketing has kind of focused on young urban consumers, nowadays the company has already shifted to an alternative nicotine source for older smokers. Juul has already agreed to refrain from wholesome marketing practices. They're not to use cartoons, not to pay social media influencers depicting people under 35. They're not going to advertise on billboards and public transportation and placing ads on any outlets unless 85% at least of their audience are adults. So treating it very much like regular tobacco cigarettes.
So this is like shifting their strategy only.
And they already had done this since before the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Because they knew that this is going to be something that was hard for them to fight. So they decided, while the case was ongoing, to shift their marketing to begin with. The deal also includes restrictions where Juul products may be placed in stores, age verification on all sales as well. So you need to show your ID to prove how old you are before you buy it.
I agree with that.
They initially had flavors like mango, mint, and cream, and those were the flavors that were very popular with U.S. high school students. They would vape in bathrooms and hallways and post it on social media. It kind of became a trend.
Yeah.
But now here's the odd part that kind of bothers me. The recent federal survey data shows that teens have been shifting away from Juul. Most teens now prefer disposable e-cigarettes, some of which still continue to have sweet, fruity flavors. Overall, the survey showed a drop of nearly 40% in the teen vaping rate but here's the thing, many kids were forced to learn from home during the pandemic.
Wow.
A lot of these teens were actually vaping outside of their home because they were in school, their parents didn't know about it, but now a lot of the kids had to learn from home, do online schooling. They can't really vape at home in front of their parents probably and get away with it. So here's the thing. Is Juul really responsible for all of this?
Yeah.
And is actually them shifting away from Juul better? Because Juul, the battery part was actually reusable and they would change the pods, right?
Okay.
But in this case, now they're using disposable ones where it's one-time use. So once the battery's done and the flavor's gone,
you have to
they throw
throw
the
it
entire
away,
thing out. So
right.
not only do you have a problem with teens vaping nicotine or getting addicted, now you have all this extra battery waste. These batteries cannot be recharged as well. So in my eyes, it's actually creating a much larger problem, and you still have teens that are vaping, just less of it because of the pandemic, but now kids are going back to school. Are they going to go back to vaping in schools, but instead use these throwaway kind of batteries? Is it better?
That's very problematic. Well, for starters, please, if you want to take up on vaping, it's actually, I just Googled this, vaping health facts. It's actually pretty destructive for you, because many vapes actually contain nicotine, which makes them addictive. Now, the nicotine in one vape can is actually as much as 50 cigarettes.
Wow.
So it's depending on the size of the vape and also nicotine strength, it can be much higher. And young people who vape are actually 3 times as likely to take up smoking cigarettes. And vaping has been linked to lung diseases, and it can cause long-lasting damaging effects on the brain and also physical development. Now, this can also increase the risk of depression and anxiety. And if you look at what's inside a vape, it actually can contain the same harmful chemicals found in cleaning products, nail polish remover, weed killer, and also bug spray.
Wow,
This
there's so
is
much
just
toxic inside of the vape.
well, that's the thing, right? Because it's not being combusted, it's not being burnt. It's a much safer alternative to smokers. But if you're going to create new smokers or new vapors out of it, then that's the problem.
I think it's like new innovations for cigars or cigarettes. But
They're trying to get people off cigarettes, not get people on vapes. That's
right, and the government trying to implement a new regulation for it.
To try to control that. Very difficult thing to control.